Picture the life of an ancient human. You probably imagine constant struggle, endless work, hunting from dawn to dusk, gathering plants until exhaustion, fighting for survival every moment of every day. After all, that's what primitive life must have been like, right? Hard, brutal, short, a never-ending battle against nature where only the hardest workers survived. We have a word for this: hardworking. We assume that ancient humans must have been incredibly hardworking. How else could they have survived in a world without technology, without agriculture, without all the conveniences that make modern life easy? But what if this picture is completely wrong? What if ancient humans actually worked less than you do? What if they had more leisure time than the average modern office worker? What if the hardworking primitive human is a myth? A story we tell ourselves to feel better about our own overworked lives? The answer comes from anthropology, and it will change how you think about work, history, and maybe even your own life. In 1966, at a famous symposium called Man the Hunter, anthropologist Marshall Sahlins presented a revolutionary idea. He called it the original affluent society. This idea challenged everything people believed about hunter-gatherers. The conventional view was that ancient humans lived on the edge of starvation, constantly struggling to survive. Their lives were nasty, brutish, and short, in the famous words of Thomas Hobbes. Poverty was the natural condition of primitive peoples. But Sahlins argued the opposite. He said that hunter-gatherers weren't poor at all. In fact, they were affluent, not because they had a lot, but because they wanted little. Affluence, Sahlins pointed out, can be achieved in two ways. You can produce a lot, satisfying many wants, or you can want little, easily satisfying the few needs you have. Hunter-gatherers took the second path. Their material wants were finite and few. Their technical means were simple, but sufficient. The result? All their wants were easily satisfied. This was the Zen road to affluence, achieving wealth by not needing much. But was this just philosophical speculation? Or was there evidence? At the same symposium, anthropologist Richard Borchet Lee presented groundbreaking research on the Kabashar Kungsan people of southern Africa. The Kungsan are one of the best-studied hunter-gatherer societies in the world. Lee lived with them, observed them, and measured their activities. What he found shocked the academic world. The Ta Kungsan worked an average of just 15 to 20 hours per week. Let that sink in. 15 to 20 hours? That's about 2 to 3 hours per day. And this wasn't work in the modern sense. Grueling, tedious, soul-crushing labor. Hunting and gathering were varied, skillful, and often enjoyable activities. They required knowledge, strategy, and physical prowess. They were challenging, yes, but also meaningful. The rest of the time, the Kungsan did what? They relaxed, they socialized, they told stories, they played games, they danced, they slept. Studies of other hunter-gatherer societies have found similar patterns. The Hadza of Tanzania work about 15 to 20 hours per week. The Agta of the Philippines have substantial leisure time. Across multiple societies, the pattern holds. Hunter-gatherers work less than modern humans. But wait, how is this possible? How could people with no agriculture, no machines, no technology, work less than people with all the advantages of civilization? The answer lies in the nature of hunter-gatherer subsistence. First, hunting and gathering are surprisingly efficient. A skilled hunter can obtain substantial calories in a few hours. Gatherers can collect enough plant foods to feed their families in half a day. The land, when not overpopulated, provides abundantly. Second, hunter-gatherers don't produce surplus. They don't store food for long periods. They don't accumulate possessions. They take what they need and leave the rest. This means they don't need to work extra hours to build up wealth or prepare for future scarcity. Third, they have few material wants. They don't need cars, houses, electronics, or fancy clothes. Their possessions are few and portable. A spear, a digging stick, some clothing, a few tools, that's enough. Fourth, they share. In hunter-gatherer societies, food is distributed among the group. If one hunter succeeds, everyone eats. This reduces the pressure on each individual to work constantly. Cooperation, not competition, is the norm. The result is a lifestyle that meets all needs with minimal labor. It's not laziness, it's efficiency. If hunter-gatherers had it so good, why did humans switch to agriculture? This is one of the great puzzles of human history. The agricultural revolution, which began around 12,500 years ago, transformed human life. But evidence suggests it made people work more, not less. A 2019 study published in Nature Human Behavior compared the Agta hunter-gatherers of the Philippines who had adopted agriculture with those who remained hunter-gatherers. The results were clear. The farming Agta worked more hours and had less leisure time than their foraging relatives. Farming is labor-intensive. You have to clear land, plant seeds, tend crops, protect them from pests, harvest, process, and store. You have to care for animals. You have to maintain infrastructure. The work never ends. And here's the cruel irony. Early agriculture may not have even provided more food. Studies suggest that the first farmers were not more productive than foragers. They may have worked more for the same or fewer calories. So why did humans adopt agriculture? The reasons are debated. Population growth may have forced people into less productive but more intensive modes of subsistence. Agriculture supports larger populations, even if it makes individual lives harder. Once you start farming, you can't easily go back. The agricultural revolution may have been, in the words of some anthropologists, the worst mistake in human history. It gave us civilization, but it cost us our leisure. Today, the average full-time worker in the United States works about 40 hours per week. That's double what hunter-gatherers worked. But that's just official work time. Add commuting, which adds hours to the workday. Add the time spent preparing for work, dressing, packing lunch, getting ready. Add the time spent recovering from work, decompressing, managing stress. Add the time spent on household chores that hunter-gatherers didn't need, cleaning houses, maintaining appliances, paying bills, managing finances. Studies suggest that when you count all work-related activities, modern humans may work 60 to 80 hours per week. And for what? To afford things that hunter-gatherers never needed. Houses, cars, phones, computers, furniture, clothes, entertainment. Our material wants are vastly greater than theirs. We work to satisfy wants they never had. This is the modern paradox. We have more technology, more convenience, more productivity than any society in history. Yet we work more than our ancient ancestors. We've achieved affluence through production, but we've lost the affluence of limited wants. So, were ancient humans hardworking? The answer depends on what you mean by hardworking. If you mean working long hours, the answer is no. Ancient hunter-gatherers worked fewer hours than modern humans. They had more leisure time. They worked less. If you mean working intensely during work hours, the answer is yes. Hunting and gathering require skill, focus, and effort. When they worked hard, but they didn't work all the time. If you mean being productive, the answer is complicated. Hunter-gatherers were productive enough to meet their needs. They didn't produce surplus, but they didn't need to. They were efficient, not industrious. The modern concept of hardworking, the idea that working long hours is virtuous, that constant labor is admirable, is a product of agricultural and industrial societies. It's not a universal human value. It's a cultural invention. For most of human history, hundreds of thousands of years, people worked enough to live well. And then they stopped. They enjoyed their lives. They spent time with family and friends. They played, sang, and told stories. Maybe they were right. This isn't a call to abandon civilization and return to the wilderness. Hunter-gatherer life had its own challenges. Disease, injury, uncertainty, lack of medical care. We shouldn't romanticize the past, but we should question the present. Why do we work so much? Is it necessary? Or is it a choice, a cultural pattern that we've inherited without questioning? The anthropological evidence suggests that human beings don't need to work 40, 50, 60 hours a week to live well. We've done it before, met our needs with far less labor. We could do it again if we chose to want less or if we organized our society differently. The hardworking primitive human is a myth. Ancient humans weren't lazy, but they weren't workaholics either. They found a balance, working enough to live, living enough to enjoy. Maybe that's the real lesson from our ancestors. Work is a means to an end, not an end in itself. The purpose of work is to support life, not to consume it. The next time you hear someone praise the hardworking spirit of our ancestors, remember, they worked less than you do. The next time you feel overwhelmed by your workload, remember, it doesn't have to be this way. Humans have lived differently. We can live differently. The next time you wonder why you work so hard, remember, you're satisfying wants your ancestors never had. That's not wrong, but it is a choice. Ancient humans weren't lazy. They weren't workaholics. They were efficient. They worked enough, and then they lived. Maybe that's the most human approach to work there is. Thanks for watching. If this exploration of ancient work patterns made you think, hit that like button and subscribe for more deep dives into anthropology and human history. I want to hear from you. How many hours do you work per week? Do you think you could be happy working 15 hours a week like a hunter-gatherer? Or are there things in modern life you wouldn't want to give up? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. Until next time, keep questioning, keep learning, and remember, the way we live isn't the only way humans have lived. It's just the way we've chosen.